ride away on the little farm in Iowa. I'm going to ride away on the road that leads to yesterday.
Hey there, I'm author Sarah A. Chrisman.
I'm Gabriel Chrisman.
And today we are discussing the book State Fair. Now we're going to do a separate video on the Iowa State Fair itself. But for today we're going to concentrate on the book. Mm-hmm. Of course, you can't talk about the book without talking about the fair.
At least not a little bit. So
it's just that the fair is big enough we can't encompass both in one short video. Right. So we'll do this one and then we'll do another video on the fair. But the book State Fair is a really popular one. It takes place at the Iowa State Fair. Mm-hmm. It was written and published in 1932.
So basically the heart of the Depression.
Yeah, which is really important. So it's the heart of the Depression, and the other thing that's happening in 1932 is that so many people are leaving farm life for the city. And this is partly just a shift in the world at large. It's partly
the Dust Bowl, partly just the economy, and the shift in general towards psyche. The shift towards urbanism from rural life, basically, which was ongoing. In fact, the 1920s was the tipping point where you first had more people living in cities in America than living in the country.
Right. And if you're not in America and you're not as familiar with the history of the Dust Bowl, what happened was that throughout the 19th century, especially the latter half of the 19th century, people had been moving into the Midwest and plowing up virgin topsoil that was...
Well, what it was supporting thick grassland.
Right.
Whether that was tall grass prairie or short grass prairie, the grass roots were what was holding all that incredible topsoil in place.
Right. And so they cut the sod and stripped off the sod, and that exposed all of the soil to weather conditions. And
So basically half the year the soil had nothing sticking out of it and nothing supporting it in terms of root structure, because they didn't really have a crop rotation system set up or a cover crop idea.
Right. And so when these massive weather systems moved in, you had wind stripping the topsoil off of the land and just blowing it up into the air in these massive storms that were basically tornadoes of dust.
Yeah, and this is made worse by the fact that there had been drought for a few years, and therefore
there had been really bad drought, which
it was dust.
Yeah, it's a cyclical thing here in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. We just get droughts on a regular cycle. It just happens. And what was going on with all of the agriculture was making them worse. But anyhow, so that's the context. But in the book, we don't see any of that. We don't see the Dust Bowl. We don't see the drought.
You see a really sort of a love letter to rural America and to agricultural life.
Right. And here, if you show me.
Yeah.
That way it won't be in this wet spot that's created. But, it's a love letter to rural life. And it's this tribute to the bounty of rural life in America. This book has long, loving descriptions of food, and especially Midwest food.
And it's not an accident that it's set in Iowa.
Right.
This was truly the heart of the heartland.
Yeah. And as part of the story for the fair, they're competing with the foods and all the pickles and the mincemeat and all of these really traditional American foods.
And then most importantly in this, the livestock.
Pig. Yes, the livestock. So the story in the book State Farm is the story of a family. There's a mom, a dad, and a daughter and son. And the daughter and son are at that cusp of adulthood where they're just getting ready to leave the nest, as it were.
Yeah.
And so the father is bringing a prize hog to the fair to compete. Now, this hog is the best hog in literature, and he's a different hog than Wilbur in Charlotte's Web. I love Wilbur, I really do, but they're different styles of hog. This is a more realistic hog, honestly.
A more realistic hog, and he's also he's sort of a philosopher in his own right. And he's a philosopher. He believes in the finer things in life.
Yes, mud. And
Well,
his mistresses.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, he believes in the pleasures of life.
Yes, and this hog is really upset when he wakes up one morning and finds his mud gone and all of his mistresses gone, and he's just in this pen, and it's too clean, far too clean, and he doesn't know what's happened, that his whole world has disappeared. And there are some marvelous, marvelous scenes from the pig's perspective in this book that are just hilarious, that I just love. And then you have the scenes revolving around the family.
Mm-hmm.
There's the dad who's focused on the livestock competition. There's the mom who's focused on the food competitions. But especially, you've got the young man and young woman who are getting involved in these romantic relationships with people they meet at the fair.
And the fair, of course, for these agricultural sort of small town dwellers, was their big annual event where they got to meet people from the wider world.
Who they didn't usually see.
Exactly.
Because most of the time these people are seeing the same people they always see.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is their opportunity to, broaden their horizons.
Mm-hmm.
But the fair can also be this place of danger, because this is where you have the country and the city coming together.
And these are two different societies and different cultures, as they show.
Diametrically opposed.
Mm-hmm.
And the fair was always designed as this celebration of rural life.
Mm-hmm.
But there's all this city stuff encroaching on it. And so the young man and young woman in the story from the farm, they each find a city dweller who they get very interested in and have these romantic relationships with. And so the question is, are these romances going to work? Can a country boy make things work with a city girl, and can a country girl make things work with the city boy? And so there's this interesting exploration of that, because that was happening, in the society at large.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really existential question. As so many people are leaving the countryside, it's how are they going to cope with all of these city folks?
And the bigger question overall was simply, can rural America survive along with urban America, or does one have to dominate or take over?
Right. And what this author clearly felt was he wanted rural America to win.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, that's not what we've seen play out in the
90-odd years since
the 90-odd years since then. But the author is clearly doing a push for the ideals of rural America, which I very much enjoy. And it's worth noting that it's also worth noting, besides the push for rural America, in this book, the female characters, both the country girl and the city girl, are the ones with the most power in their relationships that they have with the men that they meet, which I enjoy because it goes against the stereotypes of so many women's history people who never seem to have picked up a book from actual history. But we don't go into that. But yeah, so the relationships are very much in the power of the women in this book, which I enjoy. And it's very well written. It's definitely an exaltation of the rural throughout the whole book. And the author calls out a lot of places in Iowa as the family is going to the fair. And it's really clear that the author has traveled this route. And I usually don't like it when people list a lot of place names, because most of the time it is so painfully obvious that they had a creative writing teacher who told them, you must include place names because then the people who live in those places will feel proud when they read it, and they will tell their friends to buy your book. Marketing, marketing, marketing. And it's really transparent when people do that. It's really obvious. It's a cheap trick. But it's also equally clear that's not what this author is doing. It's equally clear that this author is calling out these places because he's been to these places and he's familiar with them. And
there's detail that you couldn't have picked up just by picking the names off a map.
Right, exactly. The worst culprit I've found in that is the book The Orchardist, where it's so clear that that author just took down a map of Washington State and said, okay, check, 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 check. And it just bugged me. But we won't get into that. Back to State Fair. Yeah, really well-written book and really enjoyable, really quick read, too.
And there were a couple famous movies made of this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And actually, at the Iowa State Fair, they have the administration building is sort of now a museum to the history of the State Fair. And they have posters from those movies. And so it's this very meta thing where you're at the State Fair and you're seeing movie posters for the movie based on the book State Fair, which is kind of fun. It's almost like a matryoshka. But anyhow, so very good book. I highly recommend it. And even so, if you ever can get to the Iowa State Fair, definitely pay it a visit. And whatever state you're in, go to your own state fair and read this one before you go there, because it'll give you a deeper perspective on the importance of rural life to America.
And the importance of the state fairs themselves.
Absolutely. So be sure to check it out. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a nice thumbs up. And remember to tell your friends about my books. Happy reading!
I'll hide away, way down in Iowa.